I don't know what we're supposed to say, but okay, I just have a short description of what happened in the last week or a little bit more. I apologize on behalf of my English, which is not as good, and so please correct me if you feel that. Okay, we are the only forensic institute in Israel, forensic medicine institute in Israel, and we started to work on Saturday, last Saturday. We went to the Shura base, you're probably aware of it, because there are not, the number of the bodies is too large to be in here. Also in Shura, it's, they are put in containers because there's not enough room for the storage of all the bodies. So the first idea was to make a line like the Interpol protocol where all the bodies are undergoing several types of examination, external examination of the body, registration of objects, fingerprints, DNA testing, dental examination, and total body CT. And then the body is coming out of this chain. But we understood that if we continue like this, it will take too much time. And the public sentiment in Israel is very demanding, according to our religion and habits, that bodies will be brought to burial very fast, or as soon as possible. So that's why we started to do something else. We took from everybody, from all the bodies, we took DNA samples and fingerprints. And since people here are recruited to the armies, it's mandatory recruitment to the army. Many people have the fingerprints and the DNA and also the dental records registered in the army, in data bank of the army. So then we can use it to for comparison. So until now, as far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I know from yesterday, from about 950 people that came to our examination, I'm not including the soldiers, so about 550 were already identified. Please correct me because these are all data from yesterday.
Over 500 were identified.
Yeah. And by these methods. Now we are remained with bodies that are not identified by these methods and are very difficult to identify because they are charred or totally putrefied, or we don't have any data to compare it with the antemortem data. Because how are we doing identification? We compare data that we're taking from dead bodies to the same data that were taken from living people while they're alive. From that fingerprint from dead person to the fingerprints while he was alive. Like everything, like a CT scan while he was alive, a CT scan of the dead body. Everything is like that. So if we don't have data from the antemortem, we cannot make the comparison. So this is about the scientific thing. Now, we are working here now all the time, and bodies are being brought from the Shura camp, and we are examining them. We were examining them also in Shura camp, but now we're doing more detailed examination and looking for other parts that may be essential for their identification. This is about the description of the cases. What do you want to know what we see here? Or, well, you have questions afterwards, I think. It's just short description, okay?
I will give some data regarding the DNA efforts that are basically divided between our lab here at the National Center of Forensic Medicine and the DNA database at the headquarters of the police headquarters in Jerusalem. We are in charge at the moment. We finished to analyze all the PM, all the post-mortem samples, at least those who were, it was possible to achieve a genetic profile. We have tested over 750 samples at the last days. We have profiles until now to most of them. There are still samples that will originate from bone samples or heavily burned samples, degraded samples that will need additional attempt to have to until we will be able to achieve the genetic profile. As we mentioned before, over 500 unidentified persons were already being identified, and the efforts are still at the process, and we still we are still receiving additional samples that are arriving to this facility. So the identification attempt will continue until we will be able to finish everybody every Israel, whether it is citizen or a soldier or a tourist or anything, we will continue the attempt to have the positive identification of all of the victims. Perhaps it will take some more time. There are some cases that are more difficult than others, and hopefully we will be able to get each and every one of them back home and to be buried in Israel and to get back to the home. And this is our job and this is our duty, and we will do it. And perhaps it will take a little bit more time and a lot of effort. There are many, many people that work day and night to have this result. We know that the families are waiting. The missing person, the hostages families, we know that they are waiting. And we hope that we will get the answer to all of them.
Okay. I would like to show you some of the examples. I have to say that these pictures are, well, inconvenient to see, okay? And if some of you are sensitive, it's better not to see it, okay? So I want to show you first one. You see, this is one of the things that we accepted. Dr. Nachman here.
Can you shut the lights?
Okay, is better?
No.
Oh.
It's okay.
Dr. Nachman, my colleague here,
Will you give us this material later?
Yes.
okay, so he did. First of all, I have to apologize. I just made it today.
Okay.
So this one is from yesterday, but I did today. Some of the bodies are from today, so I didn't have time to do a proper. Now this one is a charred piece remain, and another one. You see, that's what you see. So you don't identify what it is. But if you look at the CT scan, look, Danny, you can see here two spines, another one. Another, you see, two spines. And Dr. Nachman, can you show, and two ribs, two sets of ribs. And this is an adult with a child. They're sitting together and hug sorry. The adult is hugging the child. And no, the first one. And Dr. Nachman thinks it might, this metal wire that you see here might use to tie them to
two bodies together.
And they were burned like this. And another one. I'm 31 years in this profession, and it's still difficult to me. Please. This is a bag that we received. Please. And these are the remains that we see in the bag. You see, these are totally charred. And I just wanted to show you what. Can you go back? You see here, it's written. It's taken from the security room of. These are names of people that were there. Sorry, on the security room. It's in Hebrew. Go back.
You'll have to take it off.
Okay. No, it's not real. It's just the name of Ivan. It's first names. It's first names. It's not. Okay, go. And these are the remains that we can see here. And the remains here are charred. You cannot see what is there. Again, go another one. And this, when we separated it, we see that there are two people there at least. We don't know how many people are there. So these people were sitting in the room, and they were not shot because we don't see any metal fragments there. But they were burned because they were not shot. This is like a crematorium. They just were burned in the security room, and this is what is actually left from them. I don't know if we will be able to take DNA from these samples because they are very charred, but I hope the DNA specialist will able to do this. Please go another one.
Again, please publish it with
the number, ID number, please.
Without the numbers and without the names, okay? So the families won't know.
So this is separation of. We separated the pile of bones that you see. So this is one person, and probably the other one is at least one person that you saw before. So we have to separate them because we see double. I mean, if you see two bones of the same, for example, two bones of the same left maxilla, so it's not. It couldn't be the same person. So this is one person left, and the other one is another one. Go. Okay, this is another pile of bones. Go. And if you look at it here, also there are several people in it. You can see parts of skull here, and 2 parts of skull and 2 parts of bone. Again, it's like a crematorium. And go another one. I don't remember. And this is Dr. Nachman case. And that's what you see here. Dr. Nachman, can you explain?
Yeah, we can see here 3 left foot, and here 2 right foot, and the other parts. That means it's at least 3 people there. So they were together.
So-
It means this is the same.
But
place.
this is all what remained of them. I mean, that's the remains. I mean, it's not, the body is gone. It came from a closed room, and that's what they excavated from the room. So this is everything that remained from these bodies. Go. Another one. Okay, this is from today, just from now. This is a person. I didn't photograph everything yet because it's just finished now. This case. This is a case of a guy that another one. Press. You can see gunshot wounds from the back. This is contact gunshot wounds from the back, and another one. Now, if you look, these are the hands. They were cuffed, and he was cuffed, and you can see the mark of this one. This is the other hand, and you can see the mark of it here. And both hands were cuffed and tied from behind. And this is done by our American colleagues. Another one. These are the wires that we took out of him, and they think this was not on him. This was with the body, but they think they saw marks. I don't see pictures of it right now. I look for it because it's just from the last minutes. And they said it was cuffed like this on his abdomen already here, and might be also in the neck. So he was cuffed from behind and shot. And this is just because I didn't have time to make more cases, but this is just the time that I made it in the last 30 minutes. So I'm sorry, this is the only cases that I have here. I don't remember if I
think
could.
it's enough. Okay.
For how many bodies you have to identify still?
Still now there are about 350 bodies that are not identified, but I have to say that some processes are still going on, like DNA that still didn't make the comparison, and I hope that at the end we will have to do with our methods like CT scan and some biopsies that we are checking and so on. I hope that we have less than 200, and I'm afraid that there will be some people that we will never find and we will never be able to identify. I'm afraid because this is such a mass casualty event that probably, people have to be prepared to this, that probably some people will never be found.
Most of the 950 bodies you have identified are in that condition, more or less?
Well, the bodies that came here are in this condition because these are bodies that are difficult to identify. For example, the charred bodies, you cannot take fingerprinting. And also DNA sometimes is very, very difficult to take. And also other things, because if nothing is left from the body, there's nothing to make comparison of.
The image of the adult and the child,
Yeah,
does that mean that in the last moments they were just holding on to each
probably, yeah.
We have to separate bodies.
other? You had to separate bodies?
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Okay. Oh, another one that remind me, how do we know that they were burned alive? Because when we open, for example, Dr. Nachman has several cases like this. When you open the trachea, you see that there is soot in the trachea. So it means they were breathing while there was a fire. It means that they were not shot to death, and the body was burned. They were alive when they were burned.
Doctor, I'm from Australian television. We have one Australian victim in this tragedy. Are you saying that you're going to be able to try and identify all of the foreign victims and send them home?
Yeah, we already identified several foreign people here. I don't know if we arrived at the Australian victim, but we do our best. Of course, everyone should be identified and bring to his burial.
Have you identified any American victims?
Yes.
British?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
How many Americans do you know?
I don't have the data now. I'm sorry that I cannot. I don't have all the data because this is concentrated in somewhere else. I know what is brought here. Everybody is a human being, so we don't differentiate between any citizen. We have some Asian people that were here, foreign workers, and farmers that came from other countries. We identify them right now. Everybody's there.
There is a family that is all of them they were tourists from Ukraine that came to Israel and went to visit according to the missing person list, and they came to Israel and now they were called as a missing person, and it will be a little bit more problematic to achieve any reference samples, but according to all of the foreign citizens, there will be attempt to have the reference samples at least to DNA or any other ante-mortem record that will be can be helpful to achieve an identification. All the identification, we will do everything in our power. It doesn't matter how much time it will take.
Are you discovering that some of the remains are the attackers?
Yes, but the attackers, everybody that is known to be an attacker is concentrated somewhere else. We're not identifying them yet.
Okay.
But I assume it might be that some of the bodies are the attackers. We don't know yet. We didn't have any data about somebody that arrived here with an attacker. He said, Dr. Nachman said that we have some divers probably, so probably they are attackers. Terrorists. He said divers because people try to come from the sea too. Okay. So Dr. Nachman said that he checked some
The
divers.
adult hugging the child,
Yeah.
where were they found? What were the circumstances?
Do you know?
Well, we don't know exactly where they came from, but with the bodies were
They were identified.
the same place, the same room.
They were not identified yet.
But
so-
what place? What kibbutz?
I think
We have to check that.
לא, בלי מידע כזה, אנחנו גם לא יודעים, לא, we don't have the record and we cannot...
We don't want their families to hear from you what happened to the loved ones.
Okay. I just want to say.
No personal questions, because we don't want the families to hear from you what happened to their loved ones.
Just I want to make some kind of a relief. Most of the people that die from burning, they don't die from the flames. They are usually, when the body is burned, they are already without conscious because they die from the CO intoxication. So the inhalation of smoke is killing them before they are burned. So it just may be kind of a short relief for the families to know that they are suffering, but not so much.
How big is your team? How many people are you in your team working in?
Well, in Israel, we have a shortage of forensic pathologists. We are only 7 forensic pathologists in Israel, but this is the forensic pathologist, part of the team. And we have now volunteers from other countries. We have 4 American forensic pathologists, 1 from New Zealand and 1 from Switzerland, but the Swiss people are going to bring more forensic pathologists. We have anthropologists here. Also volunteering anthropologists, we have radiologists that came here, and because in our staff we have very few, but we have many volunteering that came here, and we have of course mortuary technicians and people that help us to with the bodies, and of course DNA people that many volunteers. Maybe you can talk about it more.
We have a lot of our original team is made of 8 DNA lab persons, but we have it is very inspiring to see a lot of volunteers. We have right now upstairs volunteers that they are lab managers from different labs in the hospital in Israel. We have genetic lab manager, immunology lab managers. We have 1 physician that working as a volunteer in our team. So the team now we have I think at least 30 volunteers that are working in shifts. We have a lot of technology that now was
donated.
That were donated, and now when we were able to operate them very quick, because usually in the lab it takes much more time to adopt the new technology, but it's working. We have a lot of colleagues that work in the Israel police lab, so the number of the people that take part in the identification process is a couple of I think dozens just for the DNA part, and I imagine that over 200 people working in total with the police officers, and I think so. I don't know the exact number, but it's something like this. We don't have any bottleneck with the process of the samples, the DNA extraction or the technical part of the DNA profiling, because all the samples were already tested and we have the results. So the bottleneck at the moment is the comparison between the samples results and the AM with the family member, because those comparison can be they can be difficult, they can be challenging by the statistic, the likelihood ratio results, which is the number that gives the statistic of how probable is the kinship between the victim and the person. So we have some bottlenecks, but there's a lot of work that's going on now, not on the technical part of sampling, but on the analysis part. There are just now, when we are sitting here, there are over 150 casework that are in the process of the analyze. So perhaps by the time that this meeting will be over, we will have additional of 40 or 50 cases that were already identified. Now it works pretty quickly, so every 2 hours or 4 hours we have larger number of identification. Anyway, we will be left with some casework, as you saw here in those pictures, the casework of which we have only bone samples, and you could see that they are burned. The DNA is being not only degraded, but basically DNA is a biology molecule, and in this kind of temperature, it just decayed. There's nothing left. So we will do everything we can. We are consulting with, we think of how to manage and have additional AM samples, perhaps opening.
Antemortem, AM is antemortem.
Antemortem, how do you say it? For example, there are DNA database for tissue specification for donation of kidney, if you want to have a kidney transplant and so on. So there's a lot of DNA samples that might be of people that are calling as a missing person, and we don't have the AM. Perhaps we will be able to locate some of those samples in hospital, in other medicine centers. So there's a lot of work. They're trying to at least have a good samples to compare it with the deceased. So it is a lot of work. It is going on, and I hope that in the most of the casework will be identified.
How many do you think will be very hard to identify?
Well, we didn't check everybody so thoroughly, but the amount of charred bodies that we receive now, the proportion is high. So I don't know how long it will take, but we try to do it from other stuff like comparing CT scans or teeth works, or finding any kind of hint. Like, for example, somebody did a biopsy, or little children that the blood were taken where they were born, and it is kept for 5 years. So we have some reservoirs of this, and we are now opening everything. All the clinical data from hospitals and from medical care of people that are missing persons, we are opening it, and we try to retrieve any data that will be helpful for us in the future. Anyone that has a tattoo, if we can still see the tattoo, of course it is not always an identification, but it is a hint. Some jewelry that we find, and maybe a hint, something that's written a name on it. So we try to do an investigation on each case, but it is taking time. And I have to say that it is, people are very eager to know, and it's understandable, the names. But we did a lot of work in 9 days, and I think people have to know that now we have the peak, and the rate of identification will decline because we are reaching now the hard cases.
You said most of them died by inhalation of smoke, yes?
The burned bodies probably, first, many of them we cannot say the cause of death because you see
but a big part of them.
Yes.
And what kind of fire? They would put on fire, literally?
Yeah. Yes.
The houses.
The houses, of course, not the people. We don't see, until now, the investigation is just beginning. We don't see any signs of fuel that were poured or something, but the house was put on fire.
Most bodies in that form, as opposed to bullets, like most bodies?
No. Many bodies are with bullets, and I see that many bodies, I can't say more because we don't have statistics, but they have also gunshot wounds in the hands, which means that it's something like that defense themselves. So it's usually through intermediate object. So we can see the bullet from here or from here, and then the entrance to somewhere else in the body. In many cases, not in everyone, of course, but in many cases we see that.
Of the bodies that you've identified, what are the age ranges? What's the youngest and the eldest?
I didn't make a statistic, but we have babies and we have very elderly people, so it's very vast.
And is there any evidence of babies or children being mutilated?
No, I see charred babies. I can't say that. Like beheaded? No, we see people without heads, but I cannot say, to be honest, that they were beheaded. I didn't see all the bodies, but I don't know what is the reason that there is no head. I can't say that it's a knife or maybe a projectile of something. I cannot say now for sure. But we will continue the we will continue the examination. And then we'll probably have more answers about the reason why these people are beheaded. Maybe it is a missile or something. I cannot say because the bodies are charred.
So how many babies among the dead?
I don't have the statistic now because it's new. Guys, you think how many babies without it? I don't know because.
How many babies among the dead?
The dead don't know.
I don't know. It's still it's a lot of bodies and it's still.
Again, you say you've seen people without heads. Does that include babies or children?
Yes.
We have to
you've seen
finish the
Yes, I see that.
You've seen babies with no heads.
Yes, but I don't know if it is beheading because when there is a projectile or a missile, it can take off your head easily. So, and if the body is charred, I cannot see the edges of the wound and say why it was beheaded. So I don't want to say that people were beheaded deliberately. I cannot say. I can say that I saw people without heads. That's what and you too.
Yeah.
And I must confess, just by this time there were more than 900 bodies, 959 this morning, who got into the camp in Shura, and out of them 297 were not identified. Remember that the Institute, the Forensic Institute in Israel, the natural one, actually got the most difficult cases. Most of the cases, by this morning, 504 were identified, not here. So the team here haven't seen all the cases. I must confess, I personally have spoken with one of the ladies who came out from Kfar Aza, and she told me she was 4 days after the horrific event when she spoke with me, and she told me personally she actually had to take all her friends and family into a container, into the body area in the kibbutz Kfar Aza, and she told me herself she saw people. Her words, they were beheaded. I must say, a lady, and I hugged her, and she was very strong. And she told me I must be strong for my kibbutz and for my other people who were left behind. And I heard her saying people were beheaded myself. So not all the cases came here, and Ken was
but all the DNA samples.
Yes, of course. The DNA samples, of course.
She wants to.
I'm sorry, I just want to.
Could you repeat those numbers again? Just you said
the numbers.
Well, the numbers are from Shura camp came out this morning, and there were again 959 bodies got into the camp, and again, I must confess that these numbers actually might be the bags were identified. So sometimes, like Ken mentioned earlier, might be that one bag contained 2 bodies. So it's not the final number. And we're up till this morning, 504 were identified, and 297 were not identified. Most of them probably would be end up as a body here, and I must stress what Nurit said is the DNA samples, all of them got into the Forensic Institute.
That's one remark, sorry. It can be also the opposite. A body can be in 2 bags also. So
we have a lot of cases of classification that we tested 750 samples, but some of the samples are have the same profile, meaning that they origin from the same person. So it is, you see all the features that we have now, I think about 70 or 80, I don't know, maybe 100 samples, but they are standing for 30 people. So the number of samples is not by one matching to the number of bodies.
Okay.
So the bodies were spread, and of course we don't have the full picture at the moment to understand what happened to them. And it is important to mention, I think it is important to mention that the investigation, now at this time scale, everybody wants the identification to be finished, and it is, of course, we understand and we want to finish because we want to give the answer to the families. But then what is going on, and we have a lot of experience from different mass casualties event in the past. At the beginning, everybody now are basically trying to find themselves, the family is just waiting for the answer. And then later on, after the burial is over and the Shiva is over, people start to ask questions and they want to know what happened and how exactly their beloved one have died, what happened to him. So without the investigation, the forensic investigation, there will not be any answer. The families will just have the answer that he was dead and that's all. So the investigation is taking time, as Dr. Kugel just presented. And so it takes time, and we have the experience, and we have the professionality, and we have the willing. We want to do our job. We want to do it.
Okay. Can you say this is the most horrific event you had to work on?
Definitely. I told you, I'm 31 years in forensic medicine, forensic pathology, and when you do your job downstairs, I take you soon to see, you are getting detached. You will see you're getting detached. You don't look at it as, but when you hear the stories and connect to the people and see, then it's very horrific to see or to feel the tragedy. It's really so big. And when I go to Shura camp and you can see a lot of containers like in a port or something, but these containers are full with bodies, with bags of bodies. And when you hear the stories of these people, you understand that behind these charred bodies there's something terrible happened, and this is difficult. I saw many things in my career, many things, but the magnitude is terrible, and the cruelty is terrible. And
is the staff getting counseling?
Okay, we'll divide into groups.
Is the staff getting counseling?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Dr. Nachman. Rega, 1 minute. We'll divide into groups so we can do the tour and not just the press conference. Okay.
So scenes first and then video maybe.